Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mindset Driven, the podcast that dives deep into the mindset of the movers and shakers of our world. Today, we have a guest whose resilience, dedication, and relentless pursuit of knowledge have made him a standout figure in the competitive arena of fitness. Allow me to introduce Calvin Tedesco. From humble beginnings to becoming a professional fitness trainer, Calvin's journey is one filled with tenacity, learning, and constant evolution. But what sets him apart? How did he transform challenges into opportunities? And how has his unique philosophy on fitness made a difference not just in his life, but for the many he inspires every day? Is it his determination to break through perceived limitations, his commitment to mental well being as much as physical fitness, or his belief in the power of teaching as a tool for personal growth? Join us as we delve deep into his incredible journey, learn from his experiences, and discover how he's shaping the fitness world one workout at a time. All right, stay locked in as we peel back the layers of Calvin's story, revealing how a steadfast mind and an unwavering spirit can turn the ordinary into extraordinary. Without further ado, please welcome Calvin Tedesco. Welcome to Mindset Driven. Today we have a very special guest. Our guest today is Calvin Tedesco, fitness trainer, bodybuilding competitor, and we're going to be asking him all the different things when it comes to mindset and how it applies to everything in his life and his clients. Welcome to the show, man. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming, man. Appreciate it. So, tell us a little history about yourself, like who you are, how you got to where you're at currently. Just give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, quick background. My name is Calvin Tedesco. I'm from Surrey, BC. That's over in Canada. I grew up, I had a bit of a harsh upbringing, kind of like how you experienced. My major life change happened when I went to a juvenile detention center when I was 15, 16 years old. That's where I learned how to work out. And once I figured out that one positive thing in my life, it gave me a lot of reason to want to live, and it carried me on through the rest of my years. Like, that's still exactly what I'm doing today, is the exact same path that I found in juvenile detention.
Nice. All right. Well, obviously, you've come up and had, a different upbringing than I have, but let's put it that way. But are there things that, your parents have taught you, or I'm not sure if they were in your life, so, if they're not, I apologize. But are there things that they taught you that has allowed you to get to the place that you're at now? Or do you feel like it's the experience that you've had within the juvenile system that it's kind of like, ingrained all of this information in you to be able to achieve where you're at?
Bro, all good questions, all fair questions too. Like, my father passed away back when I was in college, but when I was a kid, I learned a lot from him. And the major thing that he taught me before he passed away was work ethic. Because no matter what he was going through in his life, he always got up and went to work. And not a lot of other youth that I was around when I was younger were blessed enough to have a father in their life that went to work full time. So that's like something that I cherish so deeply. And just seeing him, because I'd know if he was sick, I'd know what he's going through. Always got up and went to work. Always got up and went to work early in the morning, every single day.
All right, that makes a lot of sense.
Hell yeah.
How about your mother? Same thing, same kind of work ethic.
Oh man, yeah. Me and my mom, like, I don't know, we're not super tight these days, but like, yeah. I don't know. Like,
I get it.
I think things could be better, but a big part of that's me too, and like holding on to a lot of just resentment and things like that.
No, I definitely understand where you're coming from. All right.
Hell
well, let's focus in on so the first question I really like to ask people is, what is your definition of a mindset, or, what are the most important qualities of a successful mindset?
Yo, that's a great question. Mindset to me, I think, I don't know what the exact definition would be, but it definitely has to do with how you think on a day-to-day basis. Like, where does your mind go? in different times, when you're having a good time or when you're facing adversity or when things are comfortable, what's your mindset? What's your thought pattern? What's your thought process like?
Hmm.
And I think what makes a good mindset is habits that move you towards the life you want.
Can you
So
give us
thoughts
a,
that would support,
go ahead.
yeah, thoughts that would support your ultimate vision or what you want for your life and for people around you.
Okay. Do you, I see you're, obviously you're a fitness coach, slash trainer, you're a bodybuilder. Let's focus on one of those for now. So, I've been following the bodybuilding scene for a long time, ever since I was maybe 26 years old, and I'm 39 now. I'm a big fan of, some of the greats out, back in the day, Dorian Yates, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ronnie Coleman, all the greats, so to speak, Phil Heath, Kai Green. I like the different aspects of bodybuilding. Let's talk about that. I see you've competed. You said you recently just did, and I've seen you competed before. What mindset do you think you need in order to be able to compete at such a high level?
Oh man, you have to be disciplined. Like, so with all those names you just mentioned, like Dorian Yates, Arnold, all these different bodybuilders, some of them have different training styles or even wildly different training styles. And maybe they have different beliefs on nutrition or their body responds a certain way to certain foods. So they might eat a slightly different diet or something like that. But the main thing that's consistent amongst all of them is discipline and ability to focus on something for a long period of time.
So, how do you get into that mindset? Like, what allows you to get to that? I understand, like, I get what you're saying, and obviously, I totally believe it. But I want to know, like, what you do to get into that.
Yeah, that's a great question because, yeah, there's a lot of phases in my life where I've had multiple things going on. At one point, after I got out of juvie, I was in school and then I got into college, I got into university. I was out on my own. I was working different jobs. I was working as a trainer. I was competing in sports, sometimes boxing, sometimes bodybuilding. And and I didn't drive either. So I'd have to be navigating my way around the city, biking, walking, busing, jogging, like however I could get from A to B, A to B. And I had to go all around the city like that. So I had to be extremely regimented. But the thing is that my focus and attention was divided. So I was at a part-time job and I had clients at this gym, clients at that gym, all these different classes. And then I'm doing sports. So I wasn't really like completely focused on one thing. And so over time, what I had to do was strip away and then start to zero in on, okay, what's my one thing? And I had to keep asking myself that question. What's my one thing? If I had one major purpose, what would it be? What ties into it the most? And then gradually, strip away anything that's not the main focus. And that's the only way.
That's awesome you say that, because I think a lot of people need to, like, hear that in reference of, like, there's so many different things people can be focused on or not focused on. Let's just say their attention is just split between them. And if you're not able to, like you said initially, have the discipline in order to be focused on that singular goal, it's going to be difficult to achieve anything. And I applied that to my life as well. Considering, I don't know if you saw my page. I don't think you saw my personal page, but you only saw the mindset driven. But I lost like 60 pounds in the last year. I've been in up and downs. I had back surgery, elbow surgery, wrist, shoulder, all kinds of shit. And it's been tough, but you're 100% right when you say that being able to focus on just a singular thing and, to be able to achieve it is like the mindset that you need. Get rid of all the distractions, and being able to just purely focus. So that's great you said that. What do you think were like the most challenging parts of, I don't know, starting bodybuilding, but maybe like you said you did a show before. Did you love the process or was it really hard? Like what were the challenges you faced?
Oh man, great question. So one thing I wanted to add to that thing about goals and priorities, stuff like that. If you got more than 3 goals, you don't have any. That's like one of the greatest quotes. If you have more than 3 goals, you don't have any. And then a lot of people would narrow that down and say you got to have one, one single focus. But yeah, what you're saying is the greatest challenges when it came to bodybuilding for me. I mean, I actually felt like I had an advantage because I was already in shape. Like I said, when I started working out in juvie, I went back for a year when I was 16 and I never stopped working out, like never stopped. And I would work out twice a day often. So one of the first questions I asked, because I had no idea what I was doing when I started, just like anybody. But one of the first questions I asked was, can you run and lift weights on the same day? And the corrections officer I was talking to was like, yeah, absolutely. Why not? And so if we had a chance to go to fitness where we could lift weights, I would lift. And if we went to track on that same day, I'd be running the track. And so I was already in tremendous shape. And then that's probably why I ended up competing, because the owner of the gym, Joe Porter, was like, hey, you want to do a show? Like, I'm already in shape. I'm already ready to go. I just had to dial in my nutrition. And once I got down to the weighing of the portions, it changed the whole game for me, because I had done a lot with fitness without doing portions at all, just food choices. But I was missing so many things because I didn't ever weigh my food.
Macros.
And sometimes overeating, sometimes undereating. So I just didn't know. And then once I figured that out, I was like, whoa, this is how, these people in the magazines get like that. Because I was like, everybody always blame it on a drug or there's something that they were doing that nobody else knows about. It's like, dude, if you really just weigh your food and bust your ass in the gym, like you can do all of that stuff.
I totally agree with you, man. Like, macros is where it really, comes down to. It's all about, deficit of calories in order to lose weight. A lot of people think, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. But no, it's really, the expenditure of, your calories per day. As long as it's over the amount that you eat, you will lose weight. It's really that simple, but it's so difficult for people to comprehend. I personally don't get it, but I understand. So the challenges that you said you faced there. So do those same challenges now apply to your fitness clients? Do you have where I have this question, I actually wrote it down. As a fitness trainer, like the mindset of how do you develop the mindset of clients who don't really follow what you're, prescribing? I don't know how to put that, but I think that's the right way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yo, I love that. So I feel like you can't always reach everyone. And so for a long time in my career, I was always trying to reach every person. If there was one person that wasn't getting it or wasn't fully committed, I would just zero in on that person and try to figure it out and try to figure it out and try to figure it out. It's like ramming your head into a wall. And so if you just take a step back and go like, okay, well, which one of these people is listening to what I'm saying? Which one of these people is showing up to the gym every day? And I would zero in on that person and I would be like, Project Tabitha or Project Amy, like we're going in. And I would just, everything I could teach them, I'm gonna teach them. Everything that they're willing to learn and do, we're gonna do it. And then a lot of times what I found was newer people are more likely to follow that person and listen to that person. And I would more like, I would try to put them in a bit of a leadership role. Hey, work out with this person. Oh, hey, you two are gonna work out together today. And then, oh, hey, I might be talking about nutrition, but I'd be like, talk to Tabitha about that meal prep and ask her how she does it. So she could explain the process in maybe a way that's more relatable. And I would use that as a strategy. And then, yeah, every time I find one person that's showing up all the time, I'm just like, that's my best friend. And then slowly over time, people will start to come into your life that are more like that. And so you have to just kind of feed into that. And then I don't want to say ignore the rest, but sometimes, man, people are gonna drive you crazy if you get hung up on it.
Right. Wow, that's good stuff, man. Like, I don't think I've actually heard people say it like that. It's always the like, oh, I always try and, fix the weak link, in which you said you initially did, but you kind of flipped it and said, okay, I'm going to give more energy to those that are giving me the most energy back. And that's,
Absolutely.
I think that's super powerful, right? Like people don't understand, when you give good energy, you'll receive good energy and vice versa. And you're saying that, you're using them as an example, and then those people have their own following and then they follow them. That's how it should be though, right? Like you're helping them become the best version of themselves, and then they get to go help others. So all the work you're doing, they're paying it forward. And that's how it should be.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I got examples in the gym. A lot of what I do is workbooks. So I have all the programs on worksheets that I made, and then they just fill them out. So they fill them out, and there's like 5 weeks or 6 weeks worth of workouts on there, and they fill them out, and then they got notes on the side, notes on the everywhere. Like I looked at Kara's book. She keeps all of them in like a binder or whatever. She had like 10 of these things stacked up. I'm like, dude, that's over a year's worth of workouts, all written down, every single set, every
Oh,
single rep.
so you, you basically are giving them their own special notebook specific to everybody. Like it's not like cookie cutter. Is it literally everybody gets their own specific papers?
I've tried doing it different ways.
Okay.
And one thing that's been working really well for me lately is I leave certain things a bit open-ended. So like I know they're gonna do a squat,
Okay.
but we could do a squat with a barbell. We could do a body weight squat. Like some people are getting a lot out of just body weight. So they don't even need a barbell yet. They shouldn't even touch the bar yet. Maybe use a broomstick. I actually been teaching a lot of beginners with a broomstick, and it teaches them a lot about, discipline and progression and like earning the next level, you know what I mean? Instead of just jumping straight into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you're also having to, worry about form, right? Because that's the most important part. And I think a lot of people get hung up on the, hey, oh, I can squat, I don't know, 3 plates or whatever. Yeah, but how's your form? Are you going down slow? Is it a fast drop, come up? Like there's all these different things you need to equate for, right? It's like, no, it's not. It's not just I'm squatting. It's like, okay, but are you doing it right? So that's good because that's what you're teaching. You're teaching them proper form initially so that they can apply it. And then as they go up, and they like graduate, like you said, they get to go to the next level and the next level and next level. And guaranteed, if they're doing squats right, it's a full fucking body exercise. There's no fucking way you can't get benefit from that. There's no way. That's awesome. I really like that. When it comes to your clients now, and we'll talk about this with you as well. Besides, you kind of giving them all your energy, there's obviously going to be times where your clients, even yourself, are going to have your down days. What are you doing to help them or yourself maintain a positive mindset? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question too. I try to teach them right off the bat that you're going to have bad days because everybody starts out motivated, excited, and I'll feed that flame. I'll definitely encourage them to work out as much as they can and stack as many wins as they can because I know that they're going to have that day. And when that day comes, I need this stuff to draw on. Like, yo, look, you just did 10 days straight working out. Like, what, you missed a day? Like, so what? Most people work out like 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, and they feel like that's a big deal. And it is, but hey, you just did 10 straight. How many were you doing before? You know what I mean? So I just try to build them up that way and help them focus on their wins and just, okay, now let's laser focus. What's holding you back on that bad day? What's something you could do to work around that? And so one good example is with a lady I'm working with now. Her name's Amy. She was having trouble waking up in the morning. We teach a lot of early morning workouts at the gym. And so it's hard to like work your life around it if you're stayed up too late or if the alarm went off and you got a habit of pressing snooze. And so one thing that she did recently I'm super proud of is she was like, okay, I got this trip coming up in August. And I looked at the date. I was like, okay, we got about 50 days or so. I mean, what do you think? What if we worked out every day for 50 days, one with the weights, and maybe you go for a walk for an hour? That's 2 sessions a day. That's 100 workouts in 50 days. That idea right there, like, she's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then boom, she's like, I think today was like day 15. hasn't missed a day. She's got one workout every day. She's walking every day. And then her son wants to go out and walk with her. Her son's riding a bike next to her. Her son's running around and wanting to like go for a run or go for a hike. And like, so now everybody's getting involved. And like, just from that one simple decision that like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go for these walks. I'm going to do these workouts. And even myself, like, I'm like, oh, if she's doing it, I can't be missing no days. And so I'm focusing on my diet harder. And like, I just came off of a show, so I don't need to be doing that. But I'm like, dude, I love how I feel too. So I'm like, I'm getting in better shape. They're getting in better shape. I mean, that's what I try to do, is try to include as many people as possible. You got like other people, they're tagging them in their posts, like Kara, Tabitha, Sarah, they're all like tagging each other, going for their walk, showing their footsteps on the ground. And like, hey, that's what's up, dude. That's better than I could have imagined, you know?
That's awesome, man. Like I love that.
Yeah.
So she's basically doing I'm gonna call it the 50 hard, not 75
Yeah.
hard, but the 50 hard.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good shit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know who Andy Frisella is, I'm assuming. So,
Oh yeah, the guy's a beast.
yeah, that's bad. I did 75 hard. Actually, I did 104 days straight because I saw on day 29 I forgot to take a picture, so I just started over that same day and continued. So I did 104 days straight. It was probably the most brutal thing I ever did to myself. But yeah, that's for another day. That's awesome, man. I really like it. It's the challenge though. That's the difficult, right? Like, I've always, I'm a Marine, right? Like, so I love challenges and I love to see like what I can take myself to the next level and so on and so forth. But I think the ability to, kind of like, hey, okay, just like you said, I'm going to do this. Nothing's going to take me off of it. I'm going to do this and that's it. No disrespect to like my wife, but it fucked with her because like I was just focused on that. You know what I mean? And I've been married for 15 years and, it was hard for her to deal with that. Like, I'd go out and be like, they eat whatever they're eating. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I just wait to get home and eat my meal. And I got to get home and they're like, oh, we're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. And I'm like, oh, cool. I got to go home and exercise. And, it was tough. But it was worth it because it wasn't I'll tell you what, the benefit of that wasn't so much the weight loss or anything like that at all. It was more about loving myself. And that's the real part of it. And I think, if you're not telling your clients this now, not to say you don't do this, but like love, like the three things, right? Mentally, physically, and spiritually. That's how I looked at the transformation I had with 75 hard. I was able to have those kind of three pillars where I was reading a lot more because, you got to do 10 pages. I was physically taking care of myself, but I started loving myself. And when you love yourself and you're happy, everything else kind of around you starts to just naturally take form. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what you just said, because I could see the happiness in you when you talked about, I don't got to do this shit, but I fucking feel good. I love it. I want to do this. Like that's the loving yourself, man. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's great you did that, man. I'm proud of you, bro. You did fucking amazing and you're doing amazing. So we talked about the positives and whatnot and how that, so, you specifically, do you apply those same things to yourself, like mentally, like, cause I'm sure it's, what's the word for it? It's easier, do as I say. It's easier to do as I say, not as I do. You know what I mean? A lot of people are able to, even myself, I could give great advice, but man, I sometimes I can't even take my own shit. You know what I mean? So I want to ask you how you deal with it.
Oh, like, what do you mean exactly?
So,
Like
example, no, just like, negative thoughts, having a bad day.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the same thing that you deal with that you're kind of prescribing yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I go through that a lot still. Like, that's one thing I've struggled with throughout my life. And before, I just didn't have anything positive to put that into. And so now when I'm having a hard day or negative thoughts, I pour that energy into something positive. And so then it's like not wasted energy, because in my mind, positive energy and negative energy are both energy. So if I can tap into like some kind of sadness or anger, or if I feel depressed or anxious, or if I have like self-defeating thoughts, like what can I do with that? I can go push myself into a workout like harder. If I'm angry, especially, I can work out way harder, way more intensely, maybe borderline dangerous. Like don't want to get injured or nothing, right? But like, I don't know. I've done that a lot throughout my life. And I swear it's what got me to where I'm at today. Because I didn't have any of those skills before I went to juvenile detention. And once I learned how to work it out, that was like my outlet. And I just had to keep it that way forever.
That's what I wanted to hear. That makes a lot of sense because, and I think really people need to hear that, because obviously you have experience in what you're doing in terms of, weightlifting, bodybuilding, losing weight, whatever the case may be, building muscle. But a lot of people need to hear like, just because, I'm feeling great and I tell you, hey, go do this, this will make you feel great. It's not always going to work that way. You're giving a prime example of like using that energy, even if it's bad, to focus it onto something good. And I think most people experience what you're saying. They just don't know how to channel it properly. And this is going to allow them, hearing somebody like you go through what you went through, this is going to give them like, hey, I can do it too now, because they can resonate with you. So thank you for sharing it like that, because I think it's important for people to understand, what they're capable of. And you're a fucking living example of it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And one other thing I was going to say about that too is, the odd time, sometimes it doesn't work. And so, maybe you do go do that workout and it doesn't make you feel better. And so then what do? So you did one positive thing, like maybe you can do another, maybe you can sit and read a book or write in a journal or listen to a podcast. And let's just say for conversation's sake, that doesn't work. That doesn't make you feel better. So you can go for a walk or go do another workout. And like, if you just continued on that path and just like, I know it's going to work. I know it's going to work. Even if you made it 30 days and before you felt better, well, you just got in like the best shape of your life. 30 days, you got like, you be somewhere, you at least be in better shape mentally and physically.
Right.
It has very real benefits on our brain and our bodies. So if you just stuck to it and just knowing in your head, okay, this is positive, I mean, eventually it's going to pay off.
Yeah, you're basically stacking wins. And when you stack wins, like it inevitably, like the serotonin, the dopamines, all the good stuff that your body can produce, it's gonna take over. And I've gotten to a point where like, in the past where like all I wanted to do was lift because I knew how good it made me feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that. You probably still experience that.
Oh yeah.
So that's great. That's awesome. So what are some of the setbacks that you've had that have come along with I guess your career in terms of training and I know initially you said you had all these different places you were training at and then you got singularly focused. But like, is there something right now that, is a setback that's not allowing you to progress, or is there something you're working on to achieve and get past that?
Oh, that's a great question. I think right now, we're hitting a good groove. I mean, I realized when I was competing earlier this year that, that took a lot of my focus, and I tried to make it like I'm doing this to take these lessons to teach them to others. And because you have to be almost extremely selfish when you're competing. You don't have any energy for anything really. So it was really difficult to show up at the gym for my clients and stuff. And then I even took a couple months off of like social media posting and stuff after the show because, dude, it took me like 2 months to recover. And I don't usually miss anything. So that was like the main thing that I struggled with. But and then in the past I struggled. I wouldn't say I struggled, but it was just difficult, more challenging to teach at different sides of the city and different things like that. But that's just part of, building up your reputation, building up your business, your brand. And I actually took a lot of pride and still take a lot of pride in the fact that I did that. And I'm like, I earned my stripes, man. Like when I first started teaching, I didn't even get paid. I was just teaching for free. I would just walk around and teach people at the gym after my workout when I was in college, when I first started studying kinesiology. And then slowly over time, I'd charge a little bit of money, you know. And I remember my first paid client, I was still in college. And then, you know, over time, I just build on that, look at what systems are available, because the personal training model kind of sucks. And if you go to a gym and you work for a gym, they'll force you into certain ways of teaching. But I never wanted to do it that way. So I would teach outside just so I could have freedom. And so all my clients at one point were outside. I'd have like 10 people at the track, and we'd like not just run track, but we made a makeshift pull-up bar off the bleachers. We do push-ups. You know, I'd bring out like a TRX, we get in our rows and stuff in there, bring out some weights. And then I'd take them to different hills, show them how to run hills. I would teach them how to work out if you didn't have a gym. And that really paid off when COVID happened, because I was like, well, we already run outdoor programs pretty regularly. We'll just go back out there, no problem. And I did align myself with a really good gym. I mentioned Joe Porter earlier. He runs a gym here called Pump House Fitness. And like, that's a great place for me to do my training, because, you know, there's nobody telling me how to do it. And he likes having me there because it builds a community. And that's what it's all about. I told him when I first went there, you know, this is a passion project. And once he heard me say that, he was like, okay, bet, we're in. Like, let's do this. And we won some awards like top gym, top trainer, stuff like that in our city here.
Oh, that's badass, man. When you say that story, it reminds me of like Ronnie Coleman and his, you know, the guy was telling me, you know, I'll give you a gym membership and then, you know, we're gonna go train and you're gonna be the best, blah, blah, blah. That's how I envision it when you say that. I don't know if are you familiar with that story?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, I still don't pay for no gym membership.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. So what are some of your long-term career goals then, moving forward?
Oh man, well, you know, there's a lot of things I'd like to see happen. I'd really like to see certain clients, you know, maybe take on a coaching role themselves at some point. Whether it just be like one client here or there, like I want to see them become teachers too. And I want to build up more of an online community as well. And maybe they'll be a part of that because they know a lot of the stuff that I teach. They're like, I'm with them every day. And so that would be cool to have more of an online community. I still teach online and stuff like that, as for clients that aren't in the same city or that leave town for work or different things like that. But yeah, just onwards and upwards. It seems to be like a steady improvement every year. It's always a little bit better than the previous. And like, that's good, man.
Awesome. So, any like maybe opening up your own gym one day, or, you know,
I've considered it. Like a lot of people have asked me about that. They're like, you should open a gym. You should open a gym. Hey, I can get funding for you to open a gym. And like, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. But I'm like, you know, I feel like the type of gym I like, the type of atmosphere, it already exists. You know, if it wasn't there, maybe then, yeah, I would feel more need to open a gym. And who knows, maybe it's in the cards later on down the road. But right now, it seems like we're on a pretty good trajectory. So I'll just keep rolling with it.
Are you interested in maybe doing, and I'm not sure if you are, but like more online based training?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We still do our Zoom calls once a week. I've got some people training on an app and stuff like that. So we still do that stuff.
Okay, cool. I mean, I wasn't 100% on that, so that's why I asked. So let's talk about, you know, I guess besides this Joe Porter guy, who has been kind of like your mentor when it comes to mindset in, you know, the past, I don't know, let's say 5 to 10 years. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, great question, man. I had like several.
Okay.
And I really lucked out, you know. So back when I was in the jail system, once I figured out these positive things, working out, and then getting good grades, that was the next thing. And then reading books, I started to get into the personal development books. That was all when I was like 16, 17. And what happened was people were starting to notice my work ethic. And like, so teachers would open up new doors for me. And that's how it happened, was they recognized, hey, this is a person that could benefit from this type of a program. So one of my teachers, Cynthia Coles, introduced me to an alternate school it's a different city than where I grew up. I grew up in Surrey, but I was in a jail in Prince George, which was just supposed to be temporary. But they made my release plans for there. And I'm trying to tell these caseworkers, like, hey, I'm not from this city. I want to go home so I can go get like visits and stuff. I was only up there to do a work program, which I couldn't even get into anyways. But so once Cynthia showed me this school, I actually got on outings. So while I was in jail, I went out with the COs. They took me to the school. I met all the teachers, and one of the teachers I met was named Sue McDonald, and she was the teacher of the fitness program. And she's like, yeah, we go for runs at like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. And I was like, as soon as she started saying that, like talking that, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Okay, what do I got to do? And yeah, I had to go into a living situation I didn't like, but I got to go to this school that I loved. And that school, man, it was like my whole life. It's so opposite. Like most people hate going to school and then they can't wait to go home or go do whatever. I was like, I couldn't wait to go to school, and I hated going home because I did not like my living situation. And so weekends, I just despised it. I was like, I just want to be in school all the damn time. I ended up graduating from there as a valedictorian, and Sue McDonald got me into kinesiology. And so I didn't even know what that was, but I guess you can study the human body, movement, sports performance, and all of this stuff in post-secondary school. And there's funding for youth at risk, which I was considered a youth at risk because I was in care of the ministry. So all this stuff started to unfold for me that I wouldn't have been able to see possible, like before I went to jail. I just knew I had to get out of that circumstance. And so everything started to unfold, and I just had to make the right decision. Like, okay, I'm just gonna try the school thing. Oh, I can go to college. Okay, I'm gonna try that. Then I'm gonna go home. And then from college, I figured out I could go. My courses would transfer to this university in the city I live in now. And so I took the leap. I took out a student loan because my funding was out. And then I found out my social worker called me and I had more funding that could help me get through the rest of the school. So I was like, what the heck? I took the leap, and it just so happened that it worked out. And then I ended up with a degree in kinesiology and teaching full time as a coach, online and in person. And all those people were huge mentors in my life. You know, Sue McDonald introduced me to my first boxing coach. Betty Clark, she's like an old lady with gray hair. She was like the most badass boxing coach, and taught some champions and things like that. And she was also a youth care worker. So what a superhero of an individual. You know what I mean? She's a youth worker during the day. She's working with youth that are on the street like I was. And then in the evening time, she opens up the boxing club, and she's not charging an arm and a leg either. It's easily accessible. You come in, you work out, you learn how to box. You teach us all the moves, all the sparring, even intense workouts, intense sparring. And then she even had me compete in my first 2 boxing matches. So those people were instrumental, man. And all women. So those were all women coaches. I didn't start working with men until I was like a little bit older. Like one of my other mentors, I mentioned Joe Porter, and I mentioned, I don't think I mentioned Barry Nelson, but when I got to Pump House Fitness, I started working out with a old time power lifter, Barry Nelson, and nobody wanted to work out with him because his workouts are so intense, so brutal. Always want to push the weights, always going heavier and heavier. And so I was like, I'll work out with you. And I just showed up every damn day to work with him. And that created like the foundation for the strength programs that I teach. Because I noticed I was getting super strong doing those programs, and so was he. So I was like, hey, if this works, like I'm gonna teach it to these women and see what happens to them. And they started getting stronger. So I'm like, okay, there's something to this, man. And I just kept building on that, building on it. And like that was in 2019. It's like 2023 now. So I've been building these programs for like a few years now. Yeah, it's been a long journey, man.
Nah, hey, man, that's I mean, like, wow, valedictorian, that's badass, you know, from youth at risk to valedictorian. Hey, man, that's fucking props, bro. Like, congrats.
Well, they wrote an article about that in the paper. Like, that was huge to me at the time. It was an article written in the Prince George Citizen about it.
That's amazing, man. Like I have a lot of
Yep.
respect for you after you told me that. Not that I didn't before, but you kind of just took it up a fucking like couple levels. One of the things that I noticed you said, well, I'm sorry, maybe was my interpretation of is work ethic is infectious. And I think that it's so evident with what you're saying because you said like people saw how hard I worked, and I think it's true in all cases across the whole world. But when, let's say, for example, when you walk in the room compared to Joe Schmo who doesn't have a good body, da 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 da, people are gonna automatically know this guy's disciplined. This guy works hard. This guy can get shit done because look at him. Just look at him. Like that people don't just look like that. There may be a genetic freak here or there, which is very rare, but people just don't look good. You know what I mean? It takes work. And I think that's extremely important. And man, you're a pretty fucking badass dude. I'll give you that, man. You're pretty badass. Any other mentors? I know we talked about Wes Watson. Do you want to talk about him at all, or what you learned with him?
Yo, Wes Watson, man, that's someone I started working with recently. I've been listening to his content for years. Probably is like maybe 2019. I can't remember when I came across him, but I was already benefiting from all the stuff he was teaching, and his story really resonated with me. But it was like he did whatever I did times 10. And I was like, this guy's already doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? He's already doing what I want to be doing. And so, yeah, I easily aligned with that whole mindset. And then, I had the chance to work with them late last year, early this year. And totally helped me provide more value to people because I was kind of missing the mark when it comes to speaking on camera, getting my message out there. I had done it before, but I was just kind of like not taking it seriously. And he was like, no, man, you're selfish if you don't do that. And that's a huge reason why I'm on this podcast, because I've been out there putting out content every day. I'm speaking on camera every day. It's helping me refine my speaking, and it's helped me really, think about my clients more, think about what they need, and it's helped me provide help to them that, like I said before about the previous personal training model, you see them for an hour, once or twice a week, and you don't see them for the rest of the week. You don't talk to them. Well, now I'm literally talking to them every day. I'm with them all day because I was trying to figure out, well, if I could see them once a day, well, how do I get to them for the other 22, 23 hours? And social media is a big part of that. Wes Watson's been like extremely helpful for that, man. And then also, I think one of the main things that's helped me with Wes is non-negotiable. So, okay, you don't drink that much or whatever, and he's just like, don't drink at all. Like, there's so much more strength in being like, oh, rather than being like, oh, I only drink once or twice a year. Just why don't you just be like, I don't drink at all? Because now you're a stronger individual that people could actually go to when they want to stop drinking, because they know you don't allow it in your life, and you know what I mean? And I was like, well, I'm not really drinking anyway, so I'm just gonna stop altogether. And then when I finally had the courage to tell other people that I had been doing that, because they had already been, I think I started doing that last year, and I just still kept not drinking. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to actually make it, to be honest with you, because there'd be the odd day where I would have a drink. And finally, I told some people, I'm like, yeah, I made the decision to not drink this year. And they're like, whoa. And I told them why. I was like, it makes you a stronger individual. It's not just about you and how you can hold your liquor. It's like, what about that person watching you that has issues with drugs and alcohol? They see that it's okay with you, and maybe they look up to you in some way. And then, they're going to keep doing it. They're going to okay it themselves. But if you're like, no, I don't do that, it gives them the strength to say, I'm not going to do it either. And that's what happened is when people saw that I was doing that, they're like, I like that idea. I'm going to do that too. And so, boom, I'm like, dude, that's easily one of the most magnificent things we could do for people, because I've seen people die from drugs and alcohol addictions and other addictions. And what a powerful thing if you could help one person not drink, and really, if you think about it, it doesn't add that much positivity into your life. Like you might have a good night, a few nights, but for me personally, I might have a few good times, and then one bad time heavily outweighs all of that. One bad night drinking, and you can't take it back. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me. And I wish someone like me could have taught me that when I was a teenager, you know? But then maybe I wouldn't have gone through all that and I wouldn't be here being the person I am now. But, you know, like that's kind of the purpose is looking back and going, well, how can I be that for somebody, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, a lot of things you just said. One of the things that I want you to, pay attention to is things happen for you. I'm sure you've heard that before, but the reason you went through all the things you went through now is so that you could build the resolve to be the person you are now. So, congratulations on that. Number two, I'm very similar in the fact that, my uncle, who was, I don't have any more immediate family left. He killed himself by drinking alcohol. They found him in a hotel dead from alcohol poisoning in 2010. No, I'm sorry, 2011. And ever since then, I said I'd stop drinking, and I probably have only had 5 drinks in the last, since 2011. You know what I mean? And, I didn't stop drinking just because, I didn't want to be like that. It was more so like I saw like what alcohol was doing to my family and what it did to my real grandfather, because I don't even know him, but he wasn't in my life because he was an alcoholic and he hurt my grandmother, right? And then now my uncle's taken away from me. And my mom drank alcohol. And I know, like, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was drinking alcohol and I'd be getting to the point where, like, I can drink like a fifth of Jack, but I don't know what the word for it is, but I guess I'm predisposed to alcohol because I don't get hangovers. So I could literally drink a fifth of Jack, no BS, and wake up at 4 a.m. and go for a 3 or 4 mile run. No problem. That's just, I don't know how to explain it. I don't. I don't know what the hangover really is. Like, I don't know why. But anyways, I looked at those situations and I told myself, you know what? What am I doing with myself? I could be spending that money on my kids and seeing them happy, even if it's just a toy or whatever it is. Like, I don't need to be spending money on that when I could be spending it on my kids. I'd rather see them happy than me wasted on a fucking drink of alcohol or whatever the case may be. But for you in that essence, like, you kind of took what he said and kind of made your own purpose behind it. I really appreciate you saying that. And I do think that by you being able to pay it forward with the things that you've learned in terms of, like, hey, I wish I had somebody to tell me that. That's the whole reason why. I'm so glad you said that. That's the whole reason why I am still in my kids' life today, because I told myself, when I have kids, I'm not going to let myself be taken away from my kids like my parents did to me. And that was the whole reason behind it. I
can relate to that a lot, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And so I'm like, man, by the time you get to my age, you're going to be well away, like way above my wisdom. I promise you that. Because I didn't only learn this until like the last 5 or 6 years where I started to really develop the things that I wanted to. So I'm happy you're learning it now at 28, because, man, by the time you hit my age, you're going to be fucking, you're going to be amazing, brother.
No,
I mean, you are now, but
I try to soak it all up, man. As much wisdom as I could get, bro.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I really appreciate it. All right, I got a couple more questions for you. One, what do you consider some books or podcasts or any other resources that you could recommend to anybody who's trying to get into the proper mindset of like fitness or just being a better person?
Man, all books on mindset. I've always really liked Think and Grow Rich. For some reason, that book's always been drawn to me. And I one thing that I think is a bit of a flaw with the book is the overemphasis on the money. It's like you have to have a definite amount of money, but it's like if you just take the money part out and think definiteness of purpose, and you have any kind of goal that you're really thinking and you plug that in, even if it is a financial goal, it's better if you have it focused on the process rather than the that specific outcome. It's the process that has to be dialed in. You're not going to be rich without helping millions of people. You got to actually provide something valuable. But that was like a book that, yeah, really helped me start focusing and start thinking about these big picture things. Like, well, what is my definite purpose? Well, how the heck do you even dial that in into one concise page or sentence? Or how would you do it? Like, it took me forever. I don't think I'll ever have a concise, like, this is my purpose, but the act of just thinking about it all the time and getting somewhere with that idea, like, okay, well, I don't know exactly, but it looks something like this, something like this, something like that. And you keep moving in that direction. It got me to continue moving in the positive direction. It's a big reason for why I teach my programs the way that I do. Because I would just take these books to coffee shops, man. I would just pour over them. I'm drinking coffee. I'm taking notes. I'm highlighting in the books. I'm underlining. And like the other one was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. A bit of a dry book. Like it might take a while to get into it, but once you get some of the major concepts, some of them have to do with time management. Some of them is there's one about the emotional bank account. Like it'd take me a minute to explain it, but there's just some important concepts in there that you can, yeah, really make it a part of your overall mindset and belief system. And really, like any books, man, like even if you read a bad one, you might realize, like, well, I don't agree with that. Well, that's good. Now you're figuring that out. Well, why don't you agree with it? So now you're kind of like making these decisions ahead of time. Like, I'm gonna think like this, not like this. A lot of people don't even know yet. I think maybe that helps answer some of that mindset question from earlier. Like, what is mindset? Like, it's gonna be our way of thinking. But yeah, those books are awesome. And then all podcasts, there's so many good podcasts out there. I got podcasts I listen to that are like workouts, some that are nutrition, some that are personal development. And it's always like trying to find new stuff. Like Wes Watson always got good content. Andy Frisella always got good stuff. Who else? There's some, actually, you can learn a lot about natural bodybuilding on podcasts if you go to 3DMJ or go to I can't remember all the guys in there now. Eric Helms and all those guys. They'll tell you all about all the research, all what works and what they've done with clients, because they work with clients like very specifically. And even if you don't plan to compete, it'd help to know some of those little things. Like, well, here's how your body reacts to water. Here's how it would react to sodium. Even in some different nationalities might react different to different things. Here's what we do with carbs. Here's what we do with protein and why, and the research and sets and reps. Like, you can geek out on this stuff forever, man.
It's so funny you say that. I have there's a guy that I got trained by. Man, it was so long ago, like almost 10 years ago. But he was partners with Eric Helms, so it's so weird you bring that name up. I don't hear anybody talking about Eric Helms like that, because he did the it's like the principles of something. The book is really good. I got it in the other room. I'm gonna go look at it after we talk now. But Eric Helms is extremely knowledgeable. Extremely knowledgeable.
Yeah.
That's awesome you brought that up, smart, man.
And there's a whole community like natural bodybuilders.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very aware. Yeah. Yes, 100%. Well, if I could suggest something to you, because I'm I always like to suggest it if the other person doesn't talk about it. But are you familiar with Stoicism?
Absolutely. Yeah, I got some Stoicism books. I got like Epictetus and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So are you familiar with like Ryan Holiday?
Yeah, Ryan Holiday, I got one of his books too. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, yeah, because like those Ryan Holiday has been kind of like one of the mental lifesavers for me in terms of like trying to understand my emotions. Because a lot of people think like, oh, Stoicism means you react with no emotion, like you're just emotionless. It has nothing to do with that. It's complete opposite. It's being able to control your emotion and react with logic and understanding, you know what I mean? And I think it gets lost in translation, that word Stoicism, because you look at the definition in the dictionary and it looks like you're just some complete douchebag who doesn't have an emotion. You know what I mean? But it's far from what it could be. And then another guy I want to recommend, if I'm not sure you're into meditation, but it's Dr. Joe Dispenza. Okay, yeah. So his meditation, it changed my life. It started this beginning of the year in January, and it changed my life, man. I can't even tell you how like happy I've been with inside of myself, and it's just, I cried the first time I had a real good meditation, because I finally understood that happiness isn't found externally, but it's found internally. And I've always had it the entire time. And when I finally figured that out, it was like opening the floodgates. Like, holy shit, like why have I been looking for it here and there when it's been here the whole time? You know what I mean? So I always love sharing that with people, but that Dr. Joe Dispenza, he really helped me with that. And I just want to make sure I share that, if, in case you don't know about it already.
That's something I feel like I need more. I need more of that in my life, man. I've been wanting to get back into meditation more. It's something I've been procrastinating on, man. Where do you find the meditations?
Let's talk after. I'll send you some. How about that? Because I have some.
I'm down.
Yeah, I'll send you some. The last thing that I wanted to ask you is, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to be successful in the type of career that you're in?
Oh man, just start. You got to start right now.
Okay.
And so whatever that looks like, if it's okay, you got to start your own journey. Like a lot of people put off starting their workout or starting their nutrition plan or starting any of the things. And they don't even, a lot of time when they do start, they don't even have a plan. So you can't really learn about what works and what doesn't work if you haven't followed any plans. So you got to get a basic plan in place and then actually commit and follow it. And once you learn to a certain level, you got to start teaching others. Like I said, I was teaching people because I would take a course, like I was in kinesiology, but I would take more courses specifically about exercise and to learn different, I don't know, bodybuilding techniques or whatever. And then I would teach that stuff in school. I even used it to help me pass my trainer exams. And the people that were, I guess, holding the exams, or they were like surprised, like, wow, how does this guy know all this stuff? Because they weren't teaching that in the actual school. But yeah, you got to start right away, because think of it like this. If the clock doesn't start ticking, like it might take 5 or 10 years to get where you want to be. And if you don't start now, then the clock never starts ticking on your goal. You got to get it right away. Start right away. And then don't be afraid of doing too much. Like a lot of time out there, people are like, don't work out too much or whatever, I never believed in that. And I could definitely see how, like, it makes sense. You don't work out too much. You can overtrain. But I was like, a big part of the reason why I worked out is because I loved it and made me feel better. So if I had to work out 3 or 4 or 5 times that day to make myself feel better, I mean, I don't care. No limits. My mental health is more important. And what ended up happening was I learned these exercises so much faster because I was doing it 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. And I wasn't afraid to run and lift weights in the same day or compete in boxing and also still be lifting and all. I didn't have those limitations, partly because I didn't even have internet. So I couldn't get the information overload or even the misinformation overload that we have now. I didn't have that until later because I didn't even have, internet, laptop, cell phone. I had a landline when I was 17 living on my own, and all I did was work out and go to school. And I think that's probably what people need to do. Like I even see some youth in the gym right now. They're like 15, 16. They come to the gym in the morning before they go to school. And some of them are really intrigued by what I'm doing. They'll hear me talk about training and then they'll go apply it. And those are people that could be teachers someday because they're learning all the basic lifts, all the proper form. And and you got to learn from your mistakes. You might learn something and be doing it wrong, and you got to learn how to correct that. Or if you get an injury, you got to learn how to work through that. And then as soon as you start working with clients, you'll see it's a whole different ball game. It's not even the same as working with yourself because they got different injuries, different histories. They don't know how to do stuff. And like now you got to learn how to teach them all these tools. So teaching itself is a skill. Like when I went to university, I took some courses specifically on teaching and coaching. And there's like processes on feedback, how you're going to structure it. And, sports psychology, like you can dive into all these things. But the most important thing is to practice the actual teaching itself.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that answer because people that there are a lot of people out there that want to get in better shape, but 2, they may not see it or feel it right now, but in reality, they're getting in great shape so that they can become a teacher and then pass it on and pay it forward. And I think I don't know how young you would start, but I got my 12-year-old daughter and 15-year-old daughter out and working in my garage gym already. So,
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Like one of my boxing people that taught me boxing, two of them that became like really high level in MMA and in boxing and kickboxing, they started when they were like 5, and like just probably had some gloves on, swinging at the bag, or they'd be in the ring where everybody's sparring, and they just try to somebody be working with them and they're just having some fun. But I guess at a certain age, it starts out like fun. And also, you got to start out with a broad spectrum of things, kind of like we talked about earlier. That's actually kind of good, not to be singularly focused. Like maybe learn several different sports, several different ways to work out, and then later on you can specialize. But yeah, it's better to have a wide spectrum of things that at first.
yeah, I mean that's something that it's kind of like applied to the curricular system now for like teenagers in high school, right? The whole reason why they have a bunch of electives is so that they can experience all these different things to see what they can actually do well in and what they actually like and what they actually don't like. So the same thing applies to the bodybuilding or the just exercise in general. Fitness is doing all kinds of things, seeing what works for you, seeing what you don't really like, and so on and so forth. So that's a great example. I really appreciate that answer. So where can people find you,
Absolutely.
brother? Tell me where they can find you at.
Man, you can find me on Instagram at calvin.tedesco. That's like the main social media that I use, man. I got a little bit of stuff on Facebook as well. You can usually find me under the same name, Calvin Tedesco. And yeah, you can find me on Google, read all the articles about me, whatever. But I just use my name for everything, man. Nothing too fancy.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I appreciate your time, brother. It's been an awesome talk today. I can't wait to share it with everybody. They're going to be amazed at the individual that you are. And you did great, man. It was amazing. So I appreciate it.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
All right, brother. Uh, for the rest of you guys out there watching, we'll see you again next time. Like, subscribe, do all that funny stuff, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.